I do not care about the characters. I do not care about the plots. Not for me. Not for me. But I do have a thought. Is the reason that Goodreads changed its format for the Goodreads Choice Awards because they didn't want TikTok influencing the voting, or else we'd have like Ice Plant Barbarians as a runner-up or in the running for fantasy or romance? I do not know. I'm just tired of reading books I'm not enjoying. Hey there, welcome back. So this year I wanted to try to read like the top 10 Goodreads Choice Awards for either horror or thriller. The reason I say or, just because a lot of time I think a book is a thriller book and it turns out to be on the horror list. So whenever the list is announced, I expect in the next couple days, whatever one I've already read more of in that category is I'm going to read the top 10 of. I'm assuming it's going to be thriller. So without further ado, I'm just going to list my predictions for what's going to be on the Goodreads list. This is just based on, I've seen it on Instagram a lot. It's on the most read shelf this week a lot, or has the most ratings, not necessarily most highly rated, but rated the most times by a lot of people, therefore read by a lot of people. Because as everyone knows by now, Goodreads is not the best book, it's the most popular book. So with almost 200,000 ratings, we have The Last Thing He Told Me. I know nothing about this book, but apparently I'm going to read it because an awful lot of people have rated it on Goodreads. Next is The Push with 100,000 ratings, another book I know nothing about. Might have been a book of the month pick, not sure. Okay, almost 90,000 votes or ratings, The Maidens. I did not want to read this. I had this checked out from my library at one point. Seen a bunch of bad reviews for it. Read like the first chapter and just like, you know what? I don't think I need to read this. I was going to give the author just a second chance where I didn't really like, what's it called? The Silent Patient. And yeah, I didn't really like it. Everyone else loved it. I figured it's a me thing. It's normally a me thing. I'll just read his next book. But then the complaints and criticisms that I heard for his second book now, The Maidens, were the exact same complaints I had for The Silent Patient. I'm like, I don't want to read this. But apparently I'm going to read this because with that many votes or ratings, shelves, people read it. It's a very popular book. It's going to make the list. So that's fun. Next is a book that I have already read, The Santorum. Almost 75,000 ratings. Yeah, I hated this book, 1 star. We'll talk about it later if it makes the list. At almost 40,000 ratings, we have Survive the Night. Mixed reviews, but I personally liked it. Flew through the book. We'll talk about it later if it makes the list, or you can check out my review here on YouTube. At 38,000 ratings, we have The Plot. Never heard of this before, no idea what it's about. At almost 35,000 ratings, we have Apples Never Fall. Leanne Moriarty, I have heard of this author, but I've never read anything by her. Wouldn't mind reading this. I have wanted to read some of her books in the past, and I have heard good things. All right, 26,000 ratings or shelves or something. Rock, Paper, Scissors. I adored this book so much. Really hope it makes the list. Really hope more people pick it up because it was just such a good read. I loved it. I really loved it. I need to read more by this author. 20,000 votes. I've seen this title floating around, The Night She Disappeared. I know Lisa Jewell has been on this list before in the past, so there's a good chance this will make the list. 20,000 votes, Every Value Break by Peter Swanson. I have given pretty much everything of his like 5 stars. I gave this one 1 star, but that was probably because I was angry at being let down by him, so I was just very disappointed. It probably deserves like a 3 star. It does. It deserves a 3 star. I should raise my rating. Yeah, it's probably going to make the list. Just past history of great books. The ending was a letdown for me for this one. If it makes the list, we'll talk about it. Now for my predictions, not really based on number of ratings, but because they sound really cool.
Based solely on the title, Razorblade Tears, I need no other reason to read this book, and with 20,000 ratings, it has a chance. Next, 15,000 ratings, Such a Quiet Place. I've just heard really good things about this one, but I honestly can't remember what it's about. Based solely on the cover being beautiful, Velvet is the Night. Only 5,000 ratings, but a newer release. I'm pretty hopeful this one will make the list. In My Dreams, I Hold a Knife. I love this title so much. Again, a newer release, so only 5,000 ratings. There's a lot of books on my TBR that I want to read based solely on the title or cover. They Never Saw Me Coming only has 4,000 ratings. Not sure if it'll make the list, but the cover is so cool looking, I'm very hopeful. Based solely on how popular Bunny was, Mona Awad's most recent book, All's Well. It only has 4,000 ratings, and it's probably going to end up in horror. However, I did personally enjoy the majority of this book. The ending was a little bit of a letdown. Again, review here on YouTube. White Smoke. I currently have a hold on my library's website for this book, so I am hoping it makes the list, but only 3,000 to 4,000 ratings. Hard to say if they'll make it. And I have already purchased Summer Suns at full price with only 1,000 ratings, and it probably won't make this list, and if it does, it might end up in the horror section, but I do really want to read it. And last of my predictions, based solely on the title, When the Reckoning Comes. 800 ratings, probably not going to make the list, but my god, is this not a cool title and a cool cover.
So we're going to see what I end up reading this month for Goodreads Choice Awards. Hey there. Okay, so Goodreads picks are still not out. It is getting a little ridiculous. So my library loan came in for the Maidens. I'm not reading that if I don't have to, so I just put that off for 2 weeks. And it came in just today for the Push. And that one has like the most read counts, whatever, on Goodreads, so I'm pretty sure that's going to make it. So I started that one. And yeah, 20% in. It's a pretty fast read, but it's, honestly, I'm not really enjoying it so far. So I'll check in at the 50% mark, tell you what it's about so far, and if my opinion's changed. Alright, halfway through the Push, I am still not enjoying it, actively hating it. Might just skim read the rest. I normally would DNF it, but I do kind of want to just actually get through and finish all the ones I suspect will be Goodreads Choice nominees. Alright, I'm getting ready for work right now, but Goodreads finally posted the nominations for Goodreads Choice Awards. I'm used to, I think, less books in this category. Ordinarily, I think you start off with like 15, and then later on you get 5 write-ins. They must have already done the write-ins. I do remember seeing a page saying, hey, what are your votes for Goodreads Choice Awards? But I kind of thought it was just a fan account page. Doesn't matter. There's 20 books on there. Here are them in order of shelves, read, whatever, most popular. Now, it's been a while since I made my predictions, so I don't even remember what I said, but I definitely remember the last thing he told me was there just because of the number of people who've read it. And to no one's surprise, this is on the list. Next, we have The Push, which... Alright, so here's the thing. I have just finished this book. I hated it so much. Okay, what this book is about, because I haven't told anyone yet, pretty simply, I don't know. It's about motherhood, it's about, there's not quite postpartum depression, because they say it's not that, but that's discussed. Just not bonding with the child, not connecting with it, don't like feel how you should as a mother. And it talks about generational trauma and abuse that stems from the household and influenced how they view motherhood. Fine, that's all well and good. I enjoy that aspect of it. Then you have this child may or may not be a sociopath, psychopath, may or may not be killing people. And the mom doesn't know what to believe, and everyone's telling her, oh, don't think this way, and gaslighting her. And it's just not a fun read for me. The biggest issue, 2 big issues for me. One, it's almost told as like diary entries, but not quite. So it's a lot of I and you. So you know who's being talked about. You know we're talking about the mother. And you know we're talking about her husband when she says you. But the only one who really gets a name most time are the kids. There's, the girl, and there's a son, who I don't even care anything about. I'm pretty sure her name was Violet and his name was Sam. I think the husband's name was Fox, and the wife's name started, I think, with a B. I don't even care, so I forgot all that. 1 star. I'd give it 0 stars if I could. I regret reading this book because nothing happened, and I was bored. And I've learned through this experience that I definitely need like an active protagonist. Everything that was somewhat plot related was happening to her, and she was somewhat responding to it, but taking no initiative herself. It was just, oh, this happened. I think it means this. Moving on to the next thing. Let's not address it. Let's not get any help. Let's just sit in the situation and wait for the next thing to happen to me in my life. I do not enjoy that. It is not all her fault, because like I said, people were gaslighting her and telling her, oh, don't think that, don't do that. Fine, whatever. The last page, technically like the last sentence of this book, I would have preferred if that was the first chapter and the story continued from there. I am mostly upset that this book sets up a very interesting premise in like 300 odd pages, and then once that interesting premise is set up, the book is over. I definitely would have liked that last sentence to be the beginning of the book. Okay, it's probably the last page, but really the last sentence to be the start of the book. You get a couple flashbacks from everything else that's happened in this book, and then continue the actual story with a plot, with some kind of drive that leads it forward, instead of just like meandering around her life. I did not enjoy this book. I'll probably make a little rant review about it later. Moving on. That is also on this list. It's not getting my vote. All right, The Maidens also made this list, so when my library copy comes in, I'll be reading that. The Wife Upstairs. I did read this book. I sort of enjoyed it. Ish. Not really. It was okay. Retelling of a Jane Eyre book, and okay, honestly, everyone made stupid decisions. The plot was entertaining, but I did not like the hostility between characters, like female friendships. What are those? No one cares. And just people's thought processes didn't really make sense to me at all. Yeah, I understand why people like this book, but it was not for me. The Survivors. I don't know if this made my predictions, but I've definitely seen it. The Good Sister. Don't think I ever heard of this book. Local Woman Missing. One of my favorites. I have a review on this book on the channel. It was my favorite for like 75% of the story. Could not stop reading. I was hooked. Loved it so much. Thought it was going to be an all-time favorite thriller of all time. Basically, you got 2 women, 1 child who've gone missing. Someone's returned. You got different viewpoints. You're jumping back and forth between 3 different timelines, just before they went missing, just after, and like 11 years in the future. It's great. Oh, social commentary. It was fantastic. Then the last 25% happens, ruins everything built up, all character development is gone, things are reduced to plot conveniences, and I hated the ending. So I gave it 4 stars out of respect to the 5-star in the 75% of it and the 1-star ending. But I do recommend this book. I really enjoyed it. Apples Never Fall. I haven't read a book by this author, but I really wanted to, so I'm excited to read this. Stephen King, Billy Summer. I don't want to read King. This is the reason I didn't do horror, because I figured I could get away from Stephen King. Not that I dislike all his books, he's just really hit or miss for me. He is either a 5-star love it or a 1-star hate it, and his books are thick. So I didn't really want to commit to reading a Stephen King book in the next couple weeks, but apparently I'm going to, because he's in it, so he's definitely going to make the top 10. Not a Happy Family. Never heard of this before, but I guess I might be reading it, given it's 44,000 shelves read, so yeah, we'll see what it is. We begin at the end. No idea what it's about. The plot. Okay. As soon as I was listening to the audiobook at the same time I was listening to the audiobook of the plot at the same time I was reading the push, and I just finished the plot as well. I enjoyed it more, but not by much. Okay, like this one gave a generous 2-star. Basically, an author takes a plot that someone told him about and writes a book, and then he starts getting blackmailed saying, you're not the author of this book, it doesn't belong to you. And he's just like, well, I didn't take any of the words or the chapters. I didn't read a book with this plot. Someone just told me about it. You can't plagiarize just a plot idea. You can't plagiarize a title, which he didn't even use. He didn't use any of the same characters or setting or anything he was aware about for this other author's story. So he feels he's in the right, but he's very guilty about it. And then a long spiel of things happen, because apparently this is the greatest plot in the world, like instant bestseller worthy. Everyone's gone nuts about it. It's going to be made into movies. Honestly, the plot is not that great, not that unique. I mean, I'll give them this. I don't think I've read a story with that specific plot recently or to my knowledge, but like I'm pretty sure I've heard about it in like true crime documentaries, maybe not exactly, but okay, yeah, I haven't read it specifically, but it is not groundbreaking in my opinion. But the main issues for me is the villain of this book. Oh my god, their reasoning is terrible. It is the most insane, stupid thing I've ever heard of. And then you have a villainous monologue at the end. Not a fan. The last twist was predictable. Saw it coming a mile away. Don't know what the hype is. Rant review coming later. Every Last Secret, never heard of it. Rock, Paper, Scissors, review already up on this channel. Took me a little while to get into this book, but absolutely loved it. 5 stars from me. This is my vote for the opening rounds of my favorite. Slow Fire Burning, heard of it, don't know what it's about. Arsenic and Adobo, don't know what that's about. The Night She Disappeared, I like the title and I like the cover, so that's cool. However, we're down pretty far in the popularity, so I doubt it's going to make the final list. Razerblade Tears, I hope this makes the final list because I already have a hold on my library for it and it looks really good. Harlem Shuffle, don't know what that is. All Her Little Secrets. I really like this cover, but yeah, like I said, really far down in the popularity, so I doubt it's making the list. All right, so I already have the Audible book for The Last Thing He Told Me. I'm going to get started on that. My copy for The Maidens should be in soon, so I'm going to be reading that. What I've learned from this list so far is I might not agree with the popular choice books because 2 of them I've actively hated. One, The Maidens, I do not think I'm going to enjoy. And the one I'm going to start now, The Last Thing He Told Me, doesn't sound like I've heard of it. It doesn't sound all that appealing to me, but we'll see. All right, I shall check back in later. Hey. So I just read The Last Thing He Told Me, and oh my god. So I started it before I went to work, just did my day of work, came back and stayed up till like 1 o'clock in the morning, and then I'm like, I need to go to bed. 2 hours left of this audiobook. I couldn't stop. I was very upset I had to go to bed first. Finished it the next morning, and it was incredible. This is not what I expected. Starting off, I was not invested at all. Basically, in the summary or in the plot synopsis, it just says like the husband is missing or run off and leaves a note saying just like protect his daughter. So she's the stepmother. And I absolutely loved the stepmother-daughter relationship. The stepmother's doing her best. The daughter is more argumentative and not really resentful, but just kind of wants to be left on her own, teen angst kind of thing.
And this just is the mother protecting and looking out for the best interests of the daughter and trying to figure out why her husband's gone and what is going on in his past. The only thing, this is not a thriller. Not really. It is a mystery, so definitely fits in the mystery thriller category, but I don't think anything thrilling happened. I can't really say there were any, like, oh my god, plot twists. There were a couple little moments, but nothing huge. But I am the biggest sucker for family relationships, good family dynamics, not just, oh, I don't like this person, let's argue, but looking out for each other. And I especially love it when it's not blood relations, so either found family or adopted or something like that. It's just great. I don't know if this is going to bump Rock, Paper, Scissors for my favorite thriller. I think it actually might. I need to think it over a little bit more. If it had just a moment of a big plot twist, it definitely would have. Or if it was a little more fast paced, it definitely would have. Yeah, I think it might be jumping Rock, Paper, Scissors. So that's that one. I'm also just realizing Riley Sager's Survive the Night is not on here. I realized that it had some really mixed reviews and was not well liked. But I really enjoyed that book. I mean, there were moments of it that was kind of weird and didn't make sense. There was one moment, maybe two moments, that I really had to turn off my brain and just be like, okay, we're just going to accept this is what happened. It doesn't make sense, but okay. Okay, actually, there was three moments in that book at least. I had fun with it. I enjoyed the ending. Kind of like the premise. I mean, I had fun with that book. I still gave it, like, I think 4-star. I read it in like a day. But no, not on the list. I'm also really upset that Such a Quiet Place, and what were they called? In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, and there was one more, Never Saw Me Coming. They didn't make the list either, which are 3 books that I really was looking forward to reading. I guess I'll get to them eventually. The last thing that I've been doing is I started the new Stephen King book. And again, I don't dislike Stephen King. He's just really hit or miss for me. And I have a strange feeling this is going to be like an 11, 22, 63, 66, I don't know, that book with the time-traveling assassination plot. Basically, this book is, there is a hitman, and he needs to lay low in a small town until his target shows up. And I got a feeling that it's just going to be like the everyday lives, relationships with the neighbors, start a relationship with some girl in the building, and then he's just setting up his getaway plan and his plan for the assassination. It's fine so far. It also includes, his cover is that he's an author and writing a book, hence why he's new to the town and going to be there for a while. But he has what he calls a dumb self. So the employers and employees, whatever, yeah, the employers who hired him for this hit don't know how smart he is, or that he's smart at all, so they underestimate him, which doesn't really make sense to me, because if you're like the best sniper and can get away with murder for all these years, you think they'd know you got some decent intelligence. But no. So he's writing a book, and he's writing it from like the perspective of his dumb self, because he knows they're probably going to be looking at it, and he's taking it as a challenge. I don't really know if I like the premise. I'm only like 100 pages in, so that's the setup. I won't go into any more detail of the plot other than that. Everything I just said is pretty much on the back there. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. So I'm home from work, and my library copies of both The Maidens and The Survivors came in today. So I'm going to put Stephen King on a hold for a moment and work on reading those 2 before the library loan lapses. And I've only just started The Survivors, literally like 5% in, can't give any comments on it. But I do have a thought. Is the reason that
Goodreads changed its formats for the Goodreads Choice Awards because they didn't want TikTok influencing the voting, or else we'd have like Ice Plant Barbarians as a runner up or in the running for fantasy or romance. I do not know, but I'm considering that being the reason they got rid of the writing component. Anyhow, that's all I turn this on to say.
All right, so I might have kind of forgot about you for a little bit. Several days have passed. The next round of the Goodreads Choice Awards will be opening shortly, and I guess I'm assuming the 10 finalists will be up. In that time, I have completely ignored the Stephen King book. I have completely ignored The Survivors, and I've completely ignored The Maidens. Those last two, my library loans are going to be up soon, so I really need to get working on reading those. I guess I made a little bit of progress in The Survivors. I'm not really interested right now. Maybe 30% through. I have nothing to say. I did finish Leanne Moriarty's Apples Never Fall. I didn't check in at all because I had no comment, nothing to say for like the majority of this book. It was fine. It was tedious. It was rambly, but it was okay. I was invested enough, but it was really slow. Thankfully, I had the audiobook, and I never would have finished this if I was reading a physical copy. I made a note on Goodreads around the 80% mark saying, like, ask me if I care. A big reveal had happened, and I'm just like, I don't care. I don't care. For the majority of this book, because of how rambly and slow it was and how much I didn't care about whatever the big twist was going to be, I was deciding between a 2-star and a generous 3-star. Then the ending happened, and I gave it 4 stars. This book is going to need a honest review, like a full review. There was nothing amazing or outstanding or shocking about the final twist. That's not why I gave it 4 stars. It was just coming to realize that I loved these rambly characters. I would never recommend anyone read the physical copy if they're not up for an extremely slow, feeling almost pointless slow burn. But no, I definitely recommend the audiobook on like 1.7 times speed. But I realize this sounds like a bad review, but I did genuinely enjoy it by the end. The characters won me over. So I'm very happy I read this. I probably wouldn't have picked it up if I wasn't reading the Goodreads Choice Awards, so same thing with the last thing he told me. I never would have picked that up. So I'm really enjoying the fact that I'm reading these books. I will read The Survivors very soon. I just picked up an extra shift, though, so there goes the day that I thought I would finish that one. And my cousin is coming out for a visit, so there goes my last free day. I don't know when I'm getting to The Maidens. Honestly, I don't want to read The Maidens, but it's going to be high up there in the Choice Awards, so I need to. I need to get to it soon. All right, so just as a wrap up for my ranking so far on these books, The Push is dead last. I really hope I don't read anything worse than that. The Plot is a close second last. Rock, Paper, Scissors and The Last Thing He Told Me are fighting for first place. I think The Last Thing He Told Me, just because of my love of characters and family relationships, and especially families with no blood relation, just like adopted family relationships, that is going to be my number one, even though it has nothing to do with thriller, nothing to do with the mystery component. That is my favorite of these so far. So Rock, Paper, Scissors will get second. Do I like Apples Never Fall more than Local Woman Missing? As a whole, no. I think Local Woman Missing was, for like 75% of it, my favorite book of the year. And then the last 25 dropped the ball so hard.
compared to Apples Never Fall, 80% of the book I was more or less bored with, wouldn't have finished. And then, yeah, that last 20, I come to realize how much I love the characters. I have determined I am someone who loves characters apparently more than the plot. And I love endings more. I would rather finish a book on a good note more than the lead up to it, but Local Woman Missing was more enjoyable for the majority of the plot. I'm going to have to come back to this one. I don't know. I need to think it through. I can't even say, like, would I recommend... Like, I would recommend Local Woman Missing as a whole more because I enjoyed the majority of the book and I enjoyed it from the start. But then the ending, I hated that ending. And Apples Never Fall, I was indifferent to the beginning. Actually, I was annoyed in the beginning because I hadn't even gotten a little bit accustomed to the rambly character dialogue and all these nitpicky little details that kept getting brought up. And then even by the 80% point, I'm like, I don't care. But then the end was worth it to me. Yeah, no, I'll get back to you on where that one falls. Then you have The Wife Upstairs just bouncing around on not the suckiest book of the year. So it's in, third from the bottom? It means nothing to me. I thought that was going to be one of the lower books I read this year, but then I read The Push, and I hated that. So that's all I got so far. I will make progress soon. All right, I've been reading The Survivors for like 10 days, and I'm halfway through it. I do not care about the characters. I do not care about the plot. I mean, something has happened. We're back in a hometown where a girl went missing in the past, and now another girl has been killed. And I don't care. So I ordinarily right now would DNF it, but I am mildly interested enough to see what the twist. I don't feel it's going to be a twist. I feel it's going to be a straightforward, oh yeah, this character did it, but I'm not interested enough to really care. So I'm going to skim the rest of it just to get to the ending and see what happens. The top 10 choice awards are going to be announced tonight or tomorrow on the 10th, so tomorrow, but the countdown only says 10 hours left. Anywho, we're going to see what makes the list. And hopefully it's not this one because I'm not really reading it. I'm skimming the last half. And pretty much as expected, the ending of the book to me would not have been worth actually reading the entire book consciously. Like I went through every page. Mostly I just read the dialogue and a little bit else. But I almost hope it made the list so I didn't read this for no reason and spend over 10 days on this. Not for me. Not for me. I think I remember seeing it on the Book of the Month list, so that's probably why it was so popular. I'm going to check in tomorrow when the top 10 are announced. Hey, okay, so the top 10 Goodreads Choice Awards are being announced. There's construction going on outside. I don't feel like waiting to figure out what's going on, so we're just going to look now. Summary, I have read 8 of the books listed there on the side in order. I sort of finished The Survivors. Even though I essentially DNF'd it, I'm still putting it, where am I putting it? I'm putting it above the plot, I think. Or is the plot, I hate ranking books. No, the plot was better. I'm just putting it above The Push. Let's see what we have for the top 10. What I predict, I'm predicting The Good Sister makes it. I'm hoping everything I read made it, just so I don't have to try to cram in more books in like however many days, 10 days. I'm assuming The Good Sister's going to make it. Obviously Stephen King, which we will discuss when it makes the list because something tells me I'm not going to get to it in time, even though I own it. I'm hoping for Razorblade Tears and Chicago Shuffle. And I'm assuming Lisa Jewell's probably going to be on there. So let's see. Oh, okay. Very first one. We have, I said Chicago Shuffle. I'm sorry. Harlem Shuffle. I want to reread the Dresden Files, clearly. Harlem Shuffle. Then we have Billy Summers, Stephen King. I do not think I'm going to have enough time to read Stephen King. So if that happens, I'm just going to do a dedicated reading vlog to that because I think everyone kind of knows where they stand with Stephen King at this point. I'm getting 11/22/63 vibes, small town, just live there, basically a contemporary story, and then there's going to be a murder. I'm assuming that's all it's going to be. The Maidens, to no one's shock, not going to lie, I took so long reading The Survivors because I have The Maidens also checked out for my library right now. I just didn't want to read that. Razorblade Tears. I just love the title of Razorblade Tears, so I'm excited to read that to see what it's about. Rock, Paper, Scissors, one of my favorites of the year, easily. Apples Never Fall. I like the character work. The Last Thing He Told Me. Okay, jumping down the list a little bit. I'm surprised The Wife Upstairs made it, because I saw that with a lot of mixed reviews, and in terms of average ratings, 4 and 5 stars versus like 1, 2, and 3, I didn't think The Wife Upstairs was going to make it. Back to The Last Thing He Told Me. I think this is going to be my vote for the mystery thriller of the year, but it's definitely more of a mystery than a thriller. Like I said, not fast-paced, just character-driven, family bonding stuff, which I'm all for and I love. I'm sorry if you can hear the construction noise. They're very loud. The Push. So my most hated book of the year, of course, made it, but given the number of people who read it, no one is shocked. And Arsenic and Adobe, which is fine for me because that loan just came in on my library website. So how many more do I have read? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Yes. So I have read 5 of the top 10 already. Technically, if I read like 2 more books, I would have read 10 of the top 20. So that's kind of my goal right now. I can definitely read Harlem Shuffle because I had planned, if that one showed up, to get it on Audible, so that won't be an issue. Arsenic and Adobe just came in from my library, so I should be able to get that one read. I need to read The Maidens because after all this time, I gotta see if it's as bad as everyone says. I didn't like The Silent Patient at all. I was going to give him the author a second chance with this one, but I kept hearing the same critiques, even by people who liked The Silent Patient, were saying things about this book that I really didn't like that was in The Silent Patient. So I was not looking forward to reading The Maidens, so those would be my 3 ones that I 100% tried to read. Razorblade Tears, the list on my library loan is not very long, so if I can get to that, I will be very happy. And Stephen King's going to get a dedicated reading vlog because I'm not going to have time to read that ginormous book. All right, so it is now November 30th, and I have till December, I think, 9th to try to read. Well, no. December 9th is when it's announced. When's the voting over? Voting is over December 5th. So hopefully I get this video out to you at December 9th, but we're going to see. All right, I will check in later. All right, so impulsive decision. I went and got my hair dyed. Still deciding how much I like it. I do like the change. Moving on. Started reading The Maidens, and I don't know what I expected, but it was definitely not a psychiatrist lady who specializes in group therapy telling a detective, hey, you should listen to my niece because she's a good judge of character. So if she says this person is innocent, then you should believe her. Like, evidence is a thing, lady. Due process. Like, what? We're not off to the best start with The Maidens. The same arrogance, I know better than you, and everyone else is doing it wrong, and my way, I'm going to do it my way because I'm right, is starting to seep through, and that's what I did not like about The Silent Patient. It felt pretentious to me, just my opinion. And there's little aspects of this book that's doing the same thing. So I switched to the audiobook. Will update you shortly. Real quick update. I have never heard anyone use the phrase like he dazzles me or this man is dazzling outside of Twilight. So that reference is now there. Check in later. Okay, so I'm taking a little break from the audiobook and I've switched to the ebook for Arsenic and Adobe. Okay, this is a rom-com, a Hallmark movie rom-com that just so happens to include a murder. That's what this book is. And just the tone of it, I don't know if I'm going to like it, but it's definitely something different. I just read the sentence, okay, they're going to try to solve the murder because they're two adult women who feel it's a good idea to interfere in a police investigation to solve the murder. And it's back in high school. They used to catch cheating boyfriends and find missing objects. So I just read the sentence. Yep, put on your sleuthing cap, girl. We're on the case. I don't know what I'm reading. It's cute. It's a cute tone of a book. I've never read anything like it. I just think cute is the best way to describe it. I will check in later with either this cute book or the Maidens. We'll see. Alright, I'm all kinds of confused because this author, Alex, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce his last name, I'm not quite sure how to say it. So I read The Silent Patient, and I'm over halfway through The Maidens. And this author, I read that he has studied psychotherapy. And this is a 3-year course. It's a master's level. I think it can be a PhD level education. I've only got my minor in psych. Like, I know nothing about psychology and that, but I wouldn't know that this author knew anything about it either, and I would assume they did no research just from how the characters are presented in these stories. They all seem just grossly incompetent in terms of, are they good therapists? Like, they seem like the worst therapists who can't recognize a antisocial personality disorder / psychopath / sociopath if they were standing in front of them with a big neon sign saying, hey, this person's throwing up red flags. Boundary crossing and how do you live with these people and interact with these people and not know something is up with them? And I do not understand. I watched a couple, just one actually, I'm sorry, I need to find some more reviews about the Maidens. I need to track some down for The Silent Patient from actual therapists who read this book. And one of them's just like, this, they're a little bit off. I'm sure there's a huge difference between writing a book and actually practicing and understanding and knowing and having the knowledge base and communicating it effectively for readers. I understand that is a huge thing to do and very difficult, and I know how hard this kind of education is, but like, it's just not coming across. These characters are not coming across as competent therapists. It's I as a reader do not feel anything towards them or confident in their ability to do this. Sidetracking back just to the Maidens, this girl's a terrible liar and needs to stop and just leave the investigation alone because she's bad at it. And if it wasn't for plot convenience and the author said this needed to happen and people had to react this way, I have long since turned off my brain in terms of how realistic any of this could possibly happen, in terms of showing up at a crime scene and being like, oh no, I'm totally supposed to be here, or investigating or talking to people and just being like, oh no, the dean of the university definitely asked for my help, or the police, I'm helping the police to conduct this interview and investigation. And both are telling her to stop. And she doesn't, and no one cares. And I do not like this book. I'm very glad I have the audiobook because there's no way I'd be able to read it in just the couple days I have left to read these before Goodreads Choice Awards are announced. I will be finishing this tonight because I cannot imagine having to sit down and read or listen to this for another day. I want this to be over. Normally I give an author like at least 3 chances in terms of whether or not they're for me. I will try this author's next book provided it either doesn't involve a therapist in some sense, or I watch a review from a therapist and they're like, oh no, this is a good representation of my field. So unless either of those things happen, I'm done with this author. I'm 100% done. All right, I'm finishing this tonight because I can't anymore. There's nothing I hate more than a book with characters whose entire personality and motivation that's carrying this plot is my intuition says this, even though logic and evidence say something completely different with no explanation or proof. I don't care about your intuition. Same thing. A character saying, well, this person is showboating. They're a performer. They, I don't know, are performing ritual sacrifice, and I don't think the police have worked that out yet, with no evidence, is pissing me off. I do not like this book. I swear, I attempted to go into this with an open mind. The attempt was made, but it went out the window after a couple chapters. Again, if I did not have the audiobook, I'd DNF it. No way I could read this physically. Not a chance. This lady seriously just said, I don't think he's working with anybody. He doesn't seem the type to have an accomplice. He seems like a lone wolf. He literally has a, I don't know, fan club group of women following him around who he calls the maidens, that he privately tutors and is always surrounded by people, is very popular. Multiple times they have said like his auditorium is full of people as if he's a rock star, not a professor. In what world is this guy a lone wolf? I hate the writing is just inconsistent with the characters. It is just, I feel that I need to state this out loud in the book and with no evidence. No, I hate this. I hate this so much. Same thing. Just be careful. Oh yeah, no, I'm being careful. Wandering around the campus at night with a possible serial killer on the loose, talking to random people, and having dinner and private conversations alone with who she thinks is a murderer. I'm sorry if I'm getting too far into spoilers, but you've probably heard about whether or not this book sucks or how much it sucks, or if people liked it, and you've probably read it by now if you're interested. I don't know why I'm putting myself through this. I don't know. All right, it is the next day. It is over. It is 1 star because I can't give it lower than that on Goodreads. I'm going back to my little rom-com thriller, and then I'm also going to start my audiobook for Harlem Shuffle because nothing can get worse than that. So many thoughts. I don't want to talk about it. Maybe I'll put some spoilery thoughts at the end of this video. I'll give you a warning if I do. It is below the push. At least the Push's plot, I just didn't like it because nothing really happened. This one actively offended me. Like, okay, offends a strong word. Probably inaccurate to say. But no. The most incompetent therapist. I'm done. I'm done talking about this right now. Bye. Alright, I'm halfway through Arsenic and Adobo. And also halfway through Harlem Shuffle. So I'm not really overly enjoying either. They're both okay. They're better than the previous books I've read. However, like, the tone of Arsenic and Adobo is just so jarring, I can't get past it. Like, you have
it's a rom-com. So now rom-com's wrong. It's a Hallmark movie kind of vibe tone. It's cute, it's light, not quite full on comedy, but it's not taking itself too seriously, which is great, which can be a fun time to read. However, like when it's centered around a murder and people getting violently attacked and then being accused of murder, risking losing your livelihood, police corruption, planting evidence, intimidation tactics, it doesn't lend itself well to a light, kind of fluffy, funny, not serious tone. And it's just not a pleasant time for me to read it. I'm loving the family dynamics. Yeah, just the extended family of the main character is great. Just the tone between the murder mystery and the rest of the story is too jarring for me to enjoy. I have just read so many books I hate it for this, I guess, Goodreads challenge that I'm upset that I finished those. Granted, some of them I skimmed, but I still read every single page. This one here, I'm just tired of reading books I'm not enjoying, so I don't even know if I'm going to skim this one. I might just skip to the ending and be like, okay, cool, that's how it ended. I can't finish it. And Harlem Shuffle, I will finish that one. I'm maybe a little over halfway through. I am enjoying it. However, rather than it be a tone thing, it's more of how the author structured the story. So it kind of feels like we're being told by like future main character everything that he's done in the past, and there's like a bunch of different timelines, and I'm enjoying the progression of things happening. So like started off kind of trying to stay on the straight and narrow with maybe a little tiny bit of shady stuff looking the other way. He's a furniture salesman, and sure, yeah, that thing I'm going to be selling that you're giving to me to sell. Yeah, it fell off the back of a truck. That's fine. It's not stolen. It's cool. It's cool. So that's fine. And then it's like, oh, so you gotta commit a murder. Sometimes you gotta commit a murder. It's fine. Sometimes you gotta blackmail somebody. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. And just like the slow descent a little bit into the criminal underworld, take like what his father had done in the past, and how he's still trying to separate his personality into like the shadier side and the upright citizen who just wants to take care of his family. I'm liking that. I'm definitely liking that. But I feel like the author is dragging things out a lot. Like why summarize something that could happen in a paragraph when you can take 3 or 4 pages? Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, it's almost like we're being told the story as if it already happened, but then sometimes it feels like it's happening in the moment, and again, that's a little jarring to me. I'm definitely enjoying this one more than previous books I've read. 100% on that. I should be able to finish them today, and yeah, and after that, it's just Razorblade Tears. And if I might get this out on Saturday instead of when the Goodreads Choice Awards are actually announced on the 10th. I don't know how many days away that is. I also don't know where my phone is. So if I take a little bit longer to do editing, I might actually be able to make a dent in the Stephen King book. We'll see what happens. Okay, check in later. Bye. I'm reading Razorblade Tears right now. I feel like I might have to be put on a watch list for what I just read in terms of violence. Yeah, it was a very violent scene. I'm probably gonna finish this book tonight. Okay, bye. All right, so I finished Razorblade Tears. Okay, brutal does not do this book justice. Like I don't think I've read Stephen King books with this level of violence, descriptive violence. I did love it. I gave this book 5 stars.
However, I will acknowledge I don't overly like the idea of a book being told from the point of view of two essentially very homophobic, very terrible fathers who their kids were married. Both their sons were married. The sons end up getting killed, and the two fathers who have basically not quite disowned their sons, but they were not on speaking terms. They did not have a good relationship because their sons were gay. And they're just like, well, we can't reconcile with our sons. We can't make it better. We did love them, even though we didn't accept their lifestyle and the choices they've made. So we're just going to hunt down and murder the people who killed our sons because now we can't make amends with them. I don't overly like the idea of them only being worth something or realize how much they're worth and how much they love them after they've been killed. Not a fan of that. However, the book acknowledges this as well. Yeah, so they're directly called out by characters saying, you hollering about how much you care about your dead gay sons because you treated them like shit when they were alive. Like, the book is acknowledging that they were terrible fathers when they were alive and should have treated their sons better. Then there's another line in here where he realizes there was more important things to be concerned about. It says someone was making jokes about how they would feel if their living son, was gay, how they would kick them out or beat them up or something. And one of the fathers is like, if I snuck into your house one night and slit your son's throat, I guarantee you the last thing you would be worried about was if he was gay or not. So mixed feelings on the protagonist of this book and the fact that they get a redemption arc, and we have definitely the bury your gays trope, and yeah, mixed feelings on all of that, but the story itself, extremely fast-paced, brutal. It is centered around family, which we have learned by this point is my weak spot in books. I love this book. I really, 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 truly did. Final rankings on screen now. And yeah, that's all there is to it. I read the ending of Arsenic and Adobo. Adobo. I'm sorry if I've been saying it wrong all this time. It's late, I'm tired. Harlem Shuffle, again, average read. Yeah, no, that's all I got. I don't know what I expected when I wanted to read the 10 Goodreads thriller nominees. But I've mostly succeeded. I will finish the Stephen King book next weekend and get that out, and then I'll probably make also a little condensed version with a few more rants about my experience with these books here. All right. Have a good week. See ya. Bye.